Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty huge news when it comes to even more PlayStation information going on, where we actually now apparently have a huge, massive, multi-hundred millions of dollars being invested now in the future of all the PlayStation games. And we also have a little bit more kind of cool information kind of talking about more on like why they chose not to do like a Game Pass type subscription, and a lot of other different types of stuff I'll put together in this type of video. So if you guys will all stay tuned and enjoy, because there's actually a lot of stuff to go talk about, a lot of good stuff to go talk about, and as well a lot of really good stuff for the future of the PlayStation 5 and consoles and games. I mean, obviously, if you just want these consoles, you want to have good games to go play on the consoles. If you want to go try to justify a $500, $600 purchase, whatever you guys go and do. So, yeah, kind of cool news. So let's go and talk about it. As well, if any of you guys are brand new, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on as well for that brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below for the PS5 Digital Console Controller. Twitter and Twitch down below. The Webull and Coinbase down below. And the Twitter giveaway down below. And let's go and dive in the video itself. And as always, kind of give me your thoughts and comments down below. So, as I mentioned, you just had mostly like had a really good, I would say, PlayStation conference. We're keeping a little bit more bits and pieces and kind of like highlight different aspects of it on the channel itself. And this one is probably one of the more bigger ones, at least in my opinion. And this is in regards to the future and investment of all the brand new first-party games. So these are the games like the God of Wars, the Ratchet and Clanks, you know, the Horizon Forbidden West, which are typically usually pretty high up there on the standards, and as well pretty high up there on the priority list for PlayStation, because the more games they invest into, the more games that are made, or the better the games are made, and that means that more people ideally should be also buying them and playing them. So let's go get a little bit more of a deep dive in this one too, and also, like I mentioned, has a little bit more of the other stuff too as well. So PlayStation also went and said that AAA game quality would actually just be deteriorated if it also was included in a subscription service at launch, Sony says, and also how they're investing like $300 million in first-party games, which is actually kind of somewhat of a shot on Xbox itself. So PlayStation has said it would have to cut its budgets and lower the quality of its AAA games if they were to be included in PlayStation Plus at release. I will refrain from making comments on the competitor's strategy, PlayStation executive Hiroki Totoki told investors during the company's latest financial call. Our current thinking is to have development cost and appropriate R&D investment for quality products, and that will improve the platform and also improve the business in the long run. Now, I almost would want to do another deep dive into this as a separate video too, and do the kind of a comparison of the PS Plus, Xbox itself, because there is kind of still two really good, valid critiques on both sides, like at least in my opinion. So we'll kind of see in the future which one plays out better, the Game Pass subscription model or more of just a normal PlayStation model. AAA type games on the PS5. If we distribute that in the subscription services, we may need to shrink the investments needed for that, and it will deteriorate the first-party title quality, and that is our concern, Satoki concluded. So we want to make sure that we spend the appropriate development cost to have solid titles to be introduced in the right manner. So very intriguing to kind of go and see that. So basically this also kind of goes and stems off to the Jim Ryan comments, where basically he goes and states, the games that we make are getting bigger, they're getting better, they're getting more beautiful, they're getting richer, and the narrative is getting stronger. So all this is actually very intriguing because it kind of goes to show that they kind of understand what people want. And I do think for a company and for a business, it's pretty much like the highest tier of what you want, is if I'm playing my PlayStation games, I'm expecting a pretty good story game that's at least, not like a 3-hour game. I do think Ratchet & Clank was a little bit on the shorter side, at least in my opinion. But if you factor in, say, Horizon, that's a multi-hour game, like quite a few hours of game. Usually God of War will probably expect maybe around like the 20 to 50 hours, depending on content, side content, like, what you do, etc., etc. Uncharted, a little bit longer side, Last of Us, a longer side. And to me, that's like the perfect amount. I don't want to have a game that's 300 hours like Assassin's Creed or something like that, or even like maybe like a Cyberpunk where there's a lot of bloatware. And at the end of the day, I mean, I'm sure it's still a good experience, Fallouts, etc. Like, I'm not a big fan of bloatware. I'm not a big fan of open world. Some people are nowadays. Like, and I'm a-okay with that too. There's always a time, and I'll definitely play it myself. But I do definitely feel like a good, streamlined, single-player experience is what Sony does very well. And I think that's like kind of the standard and staple of what most people are expecting when it comes to games nowadays as well. Like, they want a normal game that you pop on. It's like linear to an extent, and you kind of know what you're doing, where you're going, how you want to go and do it. which I think seems pretty good. So it kind of goes to show that at least they somewhat know their marketplace. So putting these games into a subscription service immediately upon their release would break this fortuitous cycle, which we covered him saying before. I want to be able to invest in the way that we're currently able to, so we're not doing it. So this is more of like the bigger point right here I want to talk about / kind of hear your feedback on. During the same call, it was revealed that Sony is looking as of now to spend another 40 billion yen, or roughly, 240 million euros, or 308 million normal dollars on its first party games. We plan to increase software development expenses aimed at strengthening first-party software at our existing studios by approximately 40 billion yen, Sony themselves have said. So that number one is as well huge to go and see, because as you guys know, that's probably one of their bigger, at least for the PlayStation side, one of their bigger expenses, I would say, in terms of, like, say, developing. We'll just keep on using God of War as a good example. Like, that game, multiple years of development. Also having to try to put it both for the PS4 and PS5. Definitely takes a lot of time. You probably have like hundreds upon hundreds of employees being rotated in and out, working on the game itself. You have coders, you have assets, you have music, you have all this stuff put together, and it does cost a lot of money and development time. Same with The Last of Us, same with Horizon, and all this stuff, like people making the assets, people developing the world, people doing the voice acting, doing the marketing. Like, it's a lot of money. So the fact that we're now actually seeing Sony kind of realizing this, I mean, it's kind of a big duh, like, if you've been in the game industry, but, like, the fact that they're like, hey, this is actually going to cost a little bit more than expected at the end of the day, it does kind of go to show that, well, this might be some good news, because the more money invested means, ideally, more features, more maybe brand new technology, maybe also more, like, bigger maps, more DLCs, more, like, actual better dialogue, better story writing, better assets, better, like, development, basically everything all put together. I mean, there is always like that active diminishing returns where if you have 50,000 people working on one project versus like 1,000 very efficient people, obviously, you're not going to get the craziest big difference after a certain point, but it's still cool to go and see how much money they're putting on in. Going forward, we aim to grow the game businesses by strengthening our first-party software and deploying that software on multiple platforms. The inclusion of multiple platforms likely refers to PC and mobile releases. So once again, I think that's a huge thing for Sony's future, because instead of them only focusing on the PlayStation 4 and 5, which is like their bread and butter, if they also want to spend even more money on development, spend more money on porting over games, spend more money on just, trying to make sure their Steam versions or mobile releases or PSVR 2 releases, whatever it might be, on their new like catalog of future systems are going well, then guess what? That's pretty good. Like, we like seeing that news. So at the end of the day, I think this is actually pretty nifty to see, because it does seem like Sony is very expansion focused. They want to spend money. They want to keep making good games. They want to keep on doing their bread and butter. They want to expand into PC and mobile, which is not necessarily that big of a risk. Mainly because you've kind of seen how well, say, Days Gone, Horizon, the first Horizon, God of War, first God of War, have all done very well on the actual Steam platform with really good sales, really good reviews, and a lot of people enjoying it. So it's kind of like an easy, like, well, people like video games, right? So people on PC will probably like our video games, right? If they don't already have a PlayStation. And it's just a very nice, good step. And also factoring in like the extra money tied on in, which also could even develop into more AAA games, or also invest more money into studios, maybe say like Returnal, where they actually seem like they kind of prove themselves with their very first game, which kind of just leads into a lot more potentially good games, like potentially good new IPs, potentially good development IPs, or I think games like Last of Us 3, or Last of Us like a multiplayer, or a spin-off, or a prequel, stuff like that. If you have more money, and you can get more hires, and you get more people on your system, at the end of the day, that's kind of what you want and kind of what you need. And especially with Sony now trying to go make their brand new subscription service next month, we'll kind of see if this whole business formula keeps on going on in. Because as you guys know, and I'll probably maybe want to talk about this in a separate video, Game Pass is all on the subscription. They want people subscribing. They want that monthly fee. They want to make that money. And while Sony's okay with it, like it's part of their program, their big focus definitely still has been these big AAA games, which is awesome to go and see that they're investing another $300 million, which is nothing to scuff at, into making even more of them. So kind of give me your thoughts and comments down below. We keep on getting more bits and pieces of this kind of cool press conference, Sony earnings calls and all of that. So I want to hear your thoughts and comments down below. As well, if any of you guys are brand new, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. As well, for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway, Amazon links down below for the PS5 Digital Console Controller, Twitter and Twitch down below, the Weeble and Coinbase down below, and everything else down below as well. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day. We'll have a few more videos all throughout the rest of today.